Welcome everybody. We are discussing the chapter Morphology of Flowering Plants. This is the chapter 5 of class 11th biology. In our previous two sessions, we have discussed up to the stem. In first session, we discussed the root, and in the second session, we discussed the stem. And today in this session, we'll discuss the leaf. So let us start our discussion. So the leaf is generally a flattened structure, green flattened structure which develops from the nodes of the stem. And the main function of the leaf is photosynthesis, that is food making process. And at the axis of the leaf, the axillary buds are found. So this is the general characteristics of a leaf. And the leaf, if you look into the structure of leaf, the leaf is divided into three main parts, that is leaf base, otherwise called as hypopodium. The part of the leaf that is attached to stem is called leaf base. I'll show you the picture. Then next part is petiole, the part of the leaf connecting the leaf lamina with the branch or stem. Okay, so if in a flower petiole is present, petiole means the stalk by which the leaf lamina is attached to the stem at the node. So if the petiole is present in a leaf, then the leaf is called petiolated leaf or stalked leaf. Okay, and if the petiole is absent, then it is called sessile leaf. Okay, so sessile means absence of petiole, petiolated means presence of petiole. Okay, but in some cases like Eichhornia, the petiole swells, and in citrus it is wing like. It is not always like a stalk. So the modification of petiole is also there. Then the third part is the lamina or the leaf blade. It is the most important part. It is the broad and flattened part of the leaf which actually carries out the photosynthesis, and also transpiration occurs in this part. So see in this picture, this is the structure of a leaf, typical angiospermic leaf. So here you can see, as I have said you, it has three parts, that is leaf base, then petiole, then the leaf lamina. So the leaf base is the portion, here it is the part with which it is attached to the stem. Okay, now at the base of the leaf, the axillary bud develops, and this is the stem, and this is the portion where the leaf is attached, and this portion is called node, and this is the axil of the leaf. Now this is a stalk, and this stalk is called petiole. But sometimes directly this leaf lamina, the flattened structure, is attached to the stem. Then such leaf are called the sessile leaf. Okay. Now come to the leaf lamina, the third part. So we have discussed the leaf base, then petiole. Now the third most important part is the leaf lamina or leaf blade. Okay. So this is the base of the leaf lamina. This is the base of leaf lamina, and this is a flattened structure, and it is green in color, and it is rich in chlorophyll pigment. That's why it carry out the photosynthesis, that is food making process. And besides that, the leaf surface contains the stomata. So that's why the transpiration also takes place through the leaf lamina. Now let us look into the structure of the leaf lamina. So this is the margin of the leaf lamina. You can see the cursor where I am moving the cursor. That part is called leaf margin. Okay. Now the petiole is extended up to the tip of the leaf, and this is called midrib. Then from the midrib, the branches are developed, that is called vein. And again the veins are further branched, that is called venules. Okay. So the extension of petiole up to the terminal part of the leaf is called, or the tip of the leaf is called midrib. The branches developed from the midrib are called vein. The veins are further branched, that is called venules. Okay. So this is the basic structure of a typical angiospermic leaf. Now we'll discuss simple and compound leaf. See, depending upon the incision, that means cut in the lamina, leaf may be simple or compound leaf. So what is simple leaf? Simple leaf is a leaf which may be incised to any depth but not down to the midrib or petiole. For example, mango, guava, papaya, etc. Okay. So let me show you the picture. So here you can see this is the leaf of hibiscus. This is the leaf margin. The leaf blade has the leaf margin, and you can see the incision. These are the cut. But the cut has not reached up to the petiole, not reached up to the midrib or petiole. So such type of leaf are called simple leaf. So what is simple leaf? The simple leaf is that leaf in which the incision in the leaf margin do not reach up to the midrib or the petiole. Okay. So this cut, incision means cut. This cut is only restricted to this portion only, or this may extend up to this portion as in case of papaya. Okay. But in compound leaf what happens? The leaf blade is incised up to the midrib or petiole, because of which the leaf blade is divided into many small parts called leaflet. So I'll show you the picture so that it will be clear. So here you can see this is the simple leaf. So here there is no incision. It is entire leaf. But just in the previous diagram I have shown you the incisions are there, but the incision has not reached up to the midrib or petiole. But here you can see the whole thing is a single leaf, but here you can see the incision, the cut has reached up to the petiole and midrib. Okay, and that's why the whole leaf lamina is divided into many leaflets. So these are now known as leaflet. They are not leaf. So the entire thing is a leaf, and since the leaf lamina is divided into the leaflets as the incision reaches up to the midrib, so they are called compound leaf. I think it is very much clear to you what is simple leaf and what is compound leaf. Now we'll discuss the types of compound leaf. The compound leaf may be pinnately compound or palmately compound leaf. So in pinnately compound leaf, the midrib is known as rachis and the leaflets are arranged on both sides of the rachis. Okay, so let me show you. So this is pinnately compound leaf. So these are different types of pinnately compound leaf. I will explain it briefly. So this is the midrib. Okay, this is the midrib, but here since the leaflets are there, this is not a simple leaf. That's why the midrib is called rachis. Am I clear? Rachis, and the leaflets are developed at regular intervals from the rachis. So here you can see the pair of leaflets are developed. So such leaves are called pinnately compound leaf. But this pinnately compound leaf is of different types. So when the rachis is single and a pair of leaflet are developed from at regular point from the rachis, then that is called unipinnate. Okay, and when they are in even number, so here you can see the leaflets are in even number, then that is known as unipinnate peripinnate. So unipinnate leaves are of two types. If even number of leaves are there, then that is unipinnate. And but here you can see peripinnate, even number of leaflets, then peripinnate. But here you can see the unipinnate leaf is having odd number of leaflets. So it is called imperipinnate. Okay. Then come to bipinnate compound leaf. So here you can see the rachis is further divided into branches, and now these branches are having the leaflets. Now the leaflets are further divided. The leaflets are further divided and they are called pinnules. Okay, the divided leaflets are called pinnules. So this is called bipinnate. Similarly, tripinnate. Tri means the main rachis is divided tertiary. So here you can see this is the main rachis, then it is divided once, then again so this is one rachis, then second division, then third division, and then it contains the, so these branches of the rachis are called rachila. Remember, the branches of the rachis are called rachila, and these rachila are further divided and that contains the leaflets. Okay. So this is tripinnate as it is seen in case of moringa. The bipinnate is seen in case of gulmohar, and this unipinnate is seen in case of rose. Such type of unipinnate, and peripinnate unipinnate is seen in case of tamarind. Then come to decompound. So here you can see when it is branched more than one or three times. So here you can see the branch is the rachis is divided more than thrice. Okay, so such type of leaf which is seen in case of coriander is called decompound leaf. Then come to the other type of compound leaf is palmately compound leaf. Palmate, palm, like your palm, like the palm of a human being. So in this type, the incision of leaf is directed from leaf margin to apex of petiole, and all leaflets are attached on the upper end of the petiole. So let me show you. Yes. So this is a palmately compound leaf. This is here you can see. Here the leaflets are arranged like the fingers on a palm. Okay, so here also you can see the leaflets are diverged from a common point at the top of the petiole. So here is the petiole, and from the top of the petiole the leaflets are diverged like the fingers in a palm. Okay, so these palmately compound leaves are again of different types. So first one is unifoliate. That means only one leaflet is present. It is seen in case of citrus. Then bifoliate. Bifoliate, it is seen in case of agave, and trifoliate. That means two leaflets are developed from it. Then here you can see this is bifoliate leaf. So two leaflets. Then trifoliate. This is seen in case of trifolium. Here you can see there are three leaflets developing from a common point. Okay. Then quadrifoliate. So here 4 leaflets are there. This is seen in case of Marsilia quadrangufolia or Penis quadrifolium. Then multifoliate. Here you can see more than 4 leaflets are converged at a point. This is seen in case of Smilax, Milax, that is cotton tree. Now we'll discuss some common differences between simple leaf and compound leaf. This is very important from the examination point of view. The simple leaf has an undivided leaf blade. That means the leaf blade is not completely divided. But in compound leaf, a leaf contains a series of leaflets which are attached to the midrib, and that midrib is called rachis. Then in simple leaf, the leaf blade is undivided, as I have said you. The leaf blade is divided in case of compound leaf to give rise to leaflets. Then in simple leaf, the lateral bud occurs at the base of the petiole. So that is axillary bud. I was talking about the axillary bud. The axillary bud develops at the base of the petiole. But in case of compound leaf, there is no lateral bud at the base of each leaflet. Then the examples of simple leaf are maple, black cherry, guava, oak, mango. The examples of compound leaf are neem, rose, bouquet and sam plants, and some other examples also you can cite here. Now sometimes we are often confused with a compound leaf and a branch. So let us see what are the differences between compound leaf and branch. Very important from the examination point of view. The compound leaf arises directly at the node of the stem and not subtended from outside by any structure. Okay, but branches are auxiliary to the leaf. So remember, the leaf directly develops from the stem, but the branches develops as a auxiliary bud of the leaf. Okay, from the leaf base the branches are developed. Then in compound leaf, the rachis bearing the leaflet is not divided to nodes or internodes. So in compound leaf, the leaflets are arranged at regular interval, but those parts are not known as nodes or internodes. But in branch, the branches are divided into nodes and internodes, and the nodes bears the leaves. That may be compound leaf or simple leaf. The third difference is that there is no auxiliary bud in the axil of leaflet and no terminal bud at the end of the rachis. So, see, in a stem or in a branch, the branch develops from an auxiliary bud, but the branch can develop a terminal bud. But here in the compound leaf, the auxiliary buds are not developed from the axil of the leaflets, and the rachis of the compound leaf is not having the terminal bud also. But in case of branch, the branch bears auxiliary buds because the leaves are developed, and they have terminal bud also because it is a branch of a stem. Okay, so these are the basic 3 differences between compound leaf and a branch, which can prevent the confusion between the compound leaf and a branch. Okay, so here you can see the difference between the compound leaf and branch. So here you can see this is a compound leaf. Okay, but here you can see this is a branch. They are almost similar in appearance, but how can you distinguish? So here you can see this is a leaf, this is rachis, This is petiole of the leaf, and that is developed directly from the stem. And they have auxiliary bud at the base of the compound leaf. But they don't have auxiliary bud at the base of the leaflet. And they don't have the terminal bud also. Okay. But here in the branch, you see, this is the main stem and this is the branch. So the branch develops from the axil. Here the leaf has been fallen. So from the axil of the leaf, the branch has been developed. Now the branch bears the leaves, and again at the base of the leaf, the auxiliary buds are there. So here you can see these are the auxiliary buds. And the branch again develops the terminal bud. Okay. So here you can see each branch is having a terminal bud. But here in the compound leaf, you do not find a terminal bud in the terminal part of the rachis. Only you will find the auxiliary bud at the base of the whole compound leaf. Now we will discuss what is stipulated and exstipulated leaf. The leaves of some plants have lateral appendages on either side of the leaf base known as stipule. So if these appendages are present, then that is called stipulated leaf. And if stipule is absent, then that is called exstipulated leaves. So children, these terms are very important. It comes as 1 mark question. So here I'll show you the picture. You can see this is the leaf. This is the leaf which is not having, this is the base of the leaf. Base of the leaf means what? The portion where the petiole is attached to the stem. So here we do not find any appendages or outgrowth. Okay, so it is exstipulate. There is no stipule. But here you can see at the base of the leaf, the appendages are present, the outgrowths are present, and these structures are called stipule. And since in this leaf the stipules are present, so it is called stipulated leaf. Okay. And besides that, I can show you the that is sessile and clasping base. So as I have told you that if the petiole is present, then the leaf is called petiolated. But here you can see there is no petiole. Directly the leaf base is attached to the stem, and such leaf is called sessile. That means there is no petiole. But sometimes what happens, the leaf has been developed in such a way that it clasps the stem. It clasps the stem. So this is called clasping base of the leaf. Now, duration of the leaf. So depending upon the duration, how long the leaf persists in on a stem, the leaves are of 3 types. They may be persistent or evergreen, deciduous and caducous. So what is persistent or evergreen leaf? So the leaves of such plants are found in all seasons and they do not fall. So they are found in evergreen plants like pine, Staraca indica, date palm. So they never fall. Throughout the year they persist. But in case of deciduous, all leaves of the plant shed at the same time. In a particular season, all the leaves are shaded off. And that time is generally the unfavorable condition for the plant. To reduce the rate of transpiration, they shed their leaves, as in case of Azadirachta and Ficus. Okay. Then caducus. So in these type of plants, the leaves are shed as the bud formation takes place. So as the bud, terminal bud or the axillary bud starts developing, as soon as they start developing, the leaf sheds off. Okay. So these are the types of leaves depending upon the duration up to which they remain or persist. Okay. Then venation of lamina. In the leaf lamina, I have shown you that there is a midrib, then the midrib is branched to form the veins are branched to form the venules. So the arrangement of veins and veinlets in leaf lamina is called venation, very very important. And this venation is of two types. One is reticulate, other is parallel. And the difference between reticulate and parallel venation is very very important. So let us first discuss what is reticulate venation. Reticuli means network. So when the veins and veinlets are arranged in a net-like structure, they are forming a network-like structure, then that is called reticulate venation. It is the characteristic feature of dicot leaf. Very important. All the dicot leaves are having the reticulate venation except Calophyllum, which has parallel venation. So this exception is important. This is the only exception which has parallel venation and the plant is dicot. Otherwise, in all dicot plants, the venation is reticulate venation. Now again, this reticulate venation is of two types. One is unicostate and multicostate. Unicostate venation is also called pinnate and multicostate is also called as palmate. So let us discuss what is unicostate pinnate and multicostate pinnate. So in unicostate pinnate, only one principal vein or the midrib is present from which many lateral veins are developed and they proceed towards the margin and apex. Okay, so here you can see this is reticulate unicostate or pinnate venation. Here you can see only one midrib is present from where the veins are developed and they are moving towards the margin of the leaves and apex of the leaf. They are facing towards the apex, moving towards the margin of the leaves, and then they are further branched to form the veinlets which form a network-like structure. So such type of arrangement of veins and veinlet is called unicostate or pinnate reticulate venation. Okay, but in multicostate or palmate reticulate venation, many midribs are present, or you can say many principal veins are present. They are developed from the tip of the petiole and proceed forward. Okay, I'll show you the picture. So here you can see this is multicostate reticulate venation. So here, or it is otherwise called palm. So this is the tip of the petiole, and from the tip of the petiole, many principal veins or the midribs are developed. So here you can see they can be considered as all principal veins. So here see the difference between this one and this one. So here only one midrib, but here more than one midribs are there and they are diverging towards the apex. Sorry, they are converging towards the apex. They are moving towards the apex. But the veinlets are forming the network-like structure. That's why they are reticulate venation. Okay. Now we'll discuss parallel venation. So in this type of venation, all veins run almost parallel to each other and they do not form network. It is the characteristic feature of monocot plant. And only exception is Smilax, which has reticulate venation. So Smilax is a monocot plant which has reticulate venation. So this exception you have to remember, very important. Like reticulate venation, the parallel venations are of two types, that is unicostate or pinnate, multicostate or palmate. Unicostate pinnate means only one midrib or principal vein is present. Multicostate means many midrib or many principal veins are present. So here, let us go to the previous diagram. So here you can see this is showing, this leaf is banana leaf, which shows the parallel venation. Okay. So this is unicostate because here only one midrib is present and the vein, so that is developed, the veins and veinlets that is developed from the midrib are parallel to each other. So they are called parallel venation. This is called parallel venation, and since only one midrib or principal vein is present, so it is called unicostate. Okay, but in multicostate you will see that from the tip of the petiole a number of more than one principal veins are developed, and from the principal vein the lateral veins are developed which are parallel to each other. So it is a parallel venation and it is arranged like the fingers in a palm. The midribs or the principal veins are present in such a way that they appear like a palm. Okay. So these are the different types of reticulate venation and parallel venation. So here very clearly you can see this is a parallel venation which is seen in case of monocot plant. Okay. So here it is very much clear. This is also parallel venation in case of palm, which is a monocot plant. The banana is also monocot plant. But here you can see the reticulate venation which is seen in case of dicot plants. So here you can see how the veins and venules are divided into reticular structures. The next we'll discuss the phyllotaxy of the leaves. What is phyllotaxy? Phyllotaxy is the arrangement of leaves on both main stem and the branches. So in different plant, the leaves are arranged in a particular order on the stem or branch, and this arrangement is called phyllotaxy. And why this phyllotaxy is important? What is the importance of phyllotaxy? This phyllotaxy facilitates the leaves to obtain maximum light for photosynthesis. So if in a plant or in a stem, on a stem, the leaves will present one above the other, then the leaves which are present towards the lower surface will not get sufficient light. So that's why such type of arrangement is made. So the phyllotaxy is of three types, that is alternate, opposite and hold. So let us discuss the phyllotaxy one by one. So what is alternate phyllotaxy? It is also called spiral. That means, remember, very important to understand this one. From each node, one leaf arises and they are arranged alternately in the form of a spiral. Okay. So here you can see this is, in this case you can see from one node, each node one leaf is developed. So if from this node the leaf has developed on right side, then in the next node it will develop on the left side. Right, left, right, left, right, left. Like this it is forming a spiral. You can see it is forming a spiral. Okay. So it is called alternate or spiral phyllotaxy. Then the next is opposite phyllotaxy. So here, in case of opposite phyllotaxy, from each node, two leaves are developed. Okay. And this opposite phyllotaxy is again of two types, opposite superposed or opposite decussate. I'll tell you what is opposite superposed and opposite decussate. As I have said you that this is opposite because from each node two leaves are developed, and also I told you that the opposite phyllotaxy is of two types. So here you can see in this case, this is the case of guava. In guava, one pair of leaf is present at the same level on the other pair of the leaf. So here you can see they are present at the same level. Okay. So such type of arrangement is called opposite superposed phyllotaxy. But here in opposite decussate you can see two leaves are developed from each node, but one pair of leaf is, the second pair of leaf is present at right angle to the first pair. Okay. So this is seen in case of Calotropis, and such type of arrangement of leaf is called opposite decussate. Opposite because two leaves from one node, but since they pair of leaves are right angle to each other, so they are called opposite decussate. Then the third type of phyllotaxy is hold arrangement. That means here from a single node more than two leaves are developed, as in case of Nerium. So here you can see Nerium. This is the case of Nerium, and this is in case of Alamanda. So here you can see from the single node 4 leaves are developed. Here from single node 3 leaves are developed. That means more than 2 leaves are developed. So this is called hold phyllotaxy. Okay. So I think the phyllotaxy is very much clear to you. Then modification of leaves. So the leaf, what is the main function of the leaf? To carry out the photosynthesis and transpiration. But sometimes the leaves are also modified to perform the functions other than photosynthesis. That means they may perform to provide protection, to provide support to the plant, to climb up the support. Okay. So in this way they are helpful other than photosynthesis. So let us discuss some of the modification of the leaves. So the first one is leaf tendril. So here the whole leaf is modified into coiled wire-like structure, that is called leaf tendril. It is seen in case of wild pea. Because here the stem is weak, so the leaf is, some of the leaves are modified into tendrils, and this tendril helps the plant to climb up the support. So here you can see, here I have given the example of grape. So here the normal leaves are there, and besides this normal leaf, some leaves are also modified into tendrils. The whole leaf is a tendril-like structure. And you know that in grape, the stem is weak and it always grinds up some support. So the tendril helps the plant to climb up the support. Then the next one is leaf spine. So here the leaves, the complete leaf or a part of the leaflets are modified into pointed spines. Okay. So why? See here you can see this is in case of Opuntia. This is the stem is modified into phylloclade, flattened leaf-like structure, but the leaves are very much reduced in size and they are modified into spines. So why they are modified into spines? To reduce the rate of transpiration. So if the leaves, all the leaves will be there like the normal leaves, then the rate of transpiration will be more. And since these plants are desert plant, they are getting less amount of water from the atmosphere as well as from the soil. So that's why to reduce the water loss through the leaves are modified into spine. Okay. Then we'll discuss the other type is leaf scale. So sometimes the leaves are paper-like or they may be fleshy, and they are meant for providing protection to the bird or for storage of food. And such leaves are called leaf scales. So you can see in case of onion, you know that at the center the stem is present. The stem is very much reduced, and from the stem the leaves are developed. The inner leaves are fleshy scale leaves and the outer leaves are brown scale leaves. The brown scale leaves provides protection to the bud. So here you can see the bud is developing from the shoot, from the stem, and the fleshy scale leaves are the edible part. So they are meant for storage of food. Now The leaf in some plants like insectivorous plants, they are modified into leaf pitcher, pitcher-shaped structure. They are modified into pitcher-shaped structure as in case of pitcher plant or Nepenthes. So here you can see the leaf of the part of the leaf is modified into pitcher to trap the insects, because these plants are growing in the soil where there is deficiency of nitrogen is there. So in order to get sufficient amount of protein and nitrogen, they trap the insects. So this is an insectivorous plant, and here you can see the structure of pitcher. So sometimes the whole leaf is converted into pitcher, or the terminal part of the leaf may be developed into a pitcher. The other modification is leaf bladder. In some plants, the leaf are modified into bladder-like structure, as in case of Utricularia. Okay, so this is Utricularia is an aquatic plant. So this is also meant for capturing the insect, catching the aquatic insect to get the nitrogen content. So here you can see this is a aquatic plant, and here you can see these are the bladders. Bladders means the थैली, that is इसको हम हिंदी में बोलेंगे थैली. So by this bladder they trap the insects. This is aquatic plant, Utricularia. So they are also known as bladderwort because of the presence of the bladder. Then the next modification is leaf hook. In some plants, the terminal leaflets, that means the compound leaf is there. The basal leaflets are normal, but the terminal leaflets are curved to form hook-like structure, and these hook-like structures are meant for holding or climbing of the plant. So I'll show you the picture. So here you can see this is compound leaf. The basal leaves are the leaflet. These are the leaflets are normal, but the terminal leaflets are hook-like. So they hold the support. This is in case of Bignonia. Then phyllodes. So here the phyllodes, in case of phyllodes, the petiole of the leaf, petiole is a part of leaf. The petiole of the leaf is flattened and it acts as a normal leaf. That means the petiole performs the photosynthesis. Okay, it is seen in case of Australian acacia. Let me show you the picture. So here this is acacia plant. So this is the leaf. The leaf is like compound leaf. It is compound leaf, but this is the petiole by which the leaf is compound leaf is attached to the stem, and this petiole is flattened and it also carry out the photosynthesis. This is called phyllodes. Now the next modification is leaflet tendril. We have already discussed the leaf tendril, where the whole leaf is converted into tendril. But here the leaflets are developed into tendril. So here some of the leaflets like which are present towards the terminal part of the compound leaf are modified into tendril or thin coiled structures, and that also helps in climbing of the stem. Okay, this is seen in case of garden pea. Let me show you the picture. So yes, here you can see this is a compound leaf and these are the leaflets. Okay, and this is the terminal leaflet. So here you can see the terminal leaflets are modified into tendrils. So this is leaflet tendril which helps the plant to climb up the support. So these are the modification of the leaf. Now we'll discuss the leaf base. Say children, in some cases you might have seen that the base of the leaf is swollen. It is cushion-like. That is called pulvinous leaf base. But in some cases, the leaf base is covering or it is making a sheath on the stem or the sheath on the node from where they are developed. Okay. So there are two types of leaf bases, that is pulvinous or cushion-like swollen leaf base, which is the characteristic feature of dicot leaf. Remember, this is also very important. The dicot leaf is having pulminous leaf base, but in case of monocot, you can see this is the leaf of banana. So here the leaf base is a sheathing leaf base which covers the stem up to certain distance. Okay, because these leaves are present vertically on the stem, but in dicot the leaves are present horizontally on the stem. Okay, so I think all the terms and concepts regarding the modification of leaf and different parts of leaves are very much clear to you. So in our next session, we'll discuss about the inflorescence. Even though inflorescence is only the two types of basic idea about the two types of inflorescence are given in your syllabus or in the textbook, but I'll give you the details of the inflorescence because that will be important for your NEET examination, okay, or for any other competitive examination, that is biology related competitive examinations. So I will teach, I will discuss the inflorescence, different types of inflorescence in details in our next session. Okay, so thank you for watching the video till end. Thank you.